Let's talk about the Uber and Lyft shutdown that is about to go down in California. If you drive for Uber or Lyft or any other rideshare service, in 1 week, you will find out whether or not you have that gig anymore. Governor Newsom of California agreed on Assembly Bill 5 last year in September, and this started this battle between Lyft and Uber and our Californian government to make sure that drivers could continue being independent contractors, not only for the sake of their business, but for the sake of the customers and for the benefit of the drivers. If you've driven with Lyft or Uber, you probably understand how cool it is to be able to turn on and off like a light switch whenever you please to drive in a particular area or get rides at a certain time or head home from LA and maybe pick up trips on the way. With the new proposal, all of this will no longer be possible. I'm going to share with you some of the details I've stitched together from government sources, news sources, Uber and Lyft's communication, etc. And I am going to share with you all of the things that I am doing to make sure that I don't have income affected by this. But there seems to be not much that you can do to have your Uber and Lyft income affected by this. It'll just be up to you to find other means. But don't worry, if you live in a major city, there are just tons of gig opportunities out there, and I'll share with you all of those throughout this video. Of course, there will be links down below if you just can't wait and gotta get on it, but let's get into the details so you know about what I know on all of this. So yes, the end is nigh, and both companies have issued statements and emails that said in about a week, we will either have nothing changed and you'll have improved benefits, or the services won't be available and we'll let you know when things are back and ready. Now, I don't know if you've ever coded stuff before, but things don't just get made very quickly. And up until recently, it didn't seem like Uber's CEO thought that this would make it this far. I was listening to Dara at the New Year talk about how this wasn't something that was even going to affect Uber or Lyft because the drivers know that they're contractors, they don't want to be employees.
Obviously, a law was put in place in California that would treat these employees effectively as, or treat these drivers, you would call them drivers, as employees. And you say, from what I understand, that you believe that this law somehow doesn't apply to you, which I have to admit I do not understand because it seems like the law was created for you.
The law is actually based on a Dynamics decision that was that was decided by the court about 1.5 years ago, right? So we've been operating under the law in one way or the other for 1.5 years. We do think that based on how we run our marketplace, we are a technology services company, especially now that you see us being in other businesses like Eats and Freight, et cetera. We're not in the business of driving. Our drivers are, and our drivers are independent, and they can get on the service anytime they want, and they can get off the service anytime they want. The law is quite technical as to how it deals with these issues. And just because the hurdle got harder doesn't mean we don't think we're going to pass the test. 92% of our drivers drive less than 40 hours a week. Okay, it's a respectable job, it serves their needs, it serves their lifestyles, and I think that this law is misguided and we're gonna fight it. I will tell you, anytime we talk to our drivers, number one thing that they value, flexibility, and when we tell them, what do you want, healthcare or more money, they want more money.
I mean, I can't imagine that any full-time driver wants to be an employee unless they live in the middle of nowhere. They never learned how to get better at driving, doing the better hours, working the better rides, smoozing for better tips. And the media certainly didn't help ever since AB 5 came out, promoting one-off stories of drivers that would claim the companies are taking advantage of them or that there's no way to make a livable wage. But I'll tell you, I've been driving 5.5 years, I've given 15,000 trips, and there has never been a better opportunity to be able to earn part-time, spare time, full-time income with such a degree of freedom like Uber and Lyft. These have truly been a blessing, both in disguise and not. And quite honestly, my life would be so different if I didn't start working Uber and Lyft, spare time at the beginning, and then building it into a 40-hour week. And then even more so, once our lockdown began this year, I bumped it up. I started working more gigs. I was doing Amazon and Instacart, and I was supplementing for the Uber and Lyft income that took a big dip when everything shut down for a couple months at the beginning. And because of what I learned with Uber and Lyft, I applied that to my other gigs and was able to not only make the same amount of money per hour as I was with Uber and Lyft, but I was able to sustain that type of income for the entire week. And so whether or not you want to look at this as a business opportunity or a full-time income, I see it as a training ground. Not sure if there's ever been a better time to express that nothing is certain and everything is changeable. And as things evolve, there are just unknowns that will come up and bite you when you're not looking. But the old adage of the only constant is change is something quality to keep in mind, because if you are gigging it right now, to think that in 10 years you will be with those same jobs, to even think in 5 years, now we're looking at a point where it's 7 days, to think that you'll be with those same jobs is naive at best, which is one of my favorite lines I stole from Jim Rohn. And so it's best not to be naive, and so let's take this info and do what we can with it. So in 7 days, or this date on the screen, we are going to find out whether or not this bill that has passed gets frozen or appended or extended, because as of right now, it's out of the company's hands. There's the last moment of chance for something to be paused, but AB 5 already passed. And so if you've seen the Prop 22 vote yes going around, that is this referendum. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. That is the adjustment that is for AB 5 to try and exclude Uber and Lyft drivers and I believe other types of independent contract work. And so the thing with that is Prop 22 you want to vote yes on, because yes adds to AB 5 and basically negates the part for Uber and Lyft drivers, while AB 5 is this bill that's passed and we just kind of have to deal with it now. So AB 5, like I said, it's only for California, but there are a lot of people in California. If you didn't know this, it's a big state. Big and blue, and it's a big state. There's a lot of people here. There's 4 major cities and a lot of college university towns that rely upon Uber and Lyft services and have for years. And so to think of the chaos that is about to ensue if rideshare is not available in California is so hard to fathom. I couldn't even believe it. I could not imagine what our world will look like if there's no rideshare. I give rides to people all the time, and they're saying, I don't have a car because Uber and Lyft as my main thing is cheaper, or I can't drive, whether it's because of physical issues or something else, or people with car trouble, or people with last-minute things that they just need to get done. Not even mentioning, well, I guess now I am, all of the nightlife people that go out, drink, shouldn't drive, and use rideshare. So to think that there will be chaos that occurs in California because of this is essentially a given. I assume DUIs are going to go up. I assume that people breaking the law, driving with suspended licenses, paying for rides under the table, doing all sorts of stuff that is illegal, and whether or not it hurts anyone, it could impact people if those uninsured people on the roads get into accidents, or those drunk drivers do what drunk drivers do. I cannot believe it got to this far. This is just a further example of the ludicrousy that's happening in California and other blue states. Now, not to get into politics, but it is arguable whether or not AB 5 is the worst piece of legislation to come up in California as of recent. But we'll just stick to AB 5 because that's what we're here for. So the reason the shutdown is happening is because, as Uber has said, we can't simply flip a switch with a new model. And that means that the model of how people order right now, how it looks on the driver's side, what it looks like in the back end to log all the data, etc., all of that has to change. Barely anything except for a lot of the user interface will be constant. But the big things that'll change are how drivers get on the road and how customers get drivers. I bet that engineers are working on it now since this is already so big, but it could take a month for this to get built. I mean, I'm still waiting for an update that actually fixes the glitch that I've been experiencing for months where my app doesn't show me surge zones. So I've been driving blind and just, basically figuring out where surge is based off of what surge is attached to rides that are coming in. And so to think that this could just be a couple days thing is maybe a little too kind to the ability of the developers with Uber or Lyft. I mean, these apps are complex, and to rebuild the way that customers see it and the way that the customer profiles interact and the way that pricing is and then the way that the scheduling would be and the way the user interface would look, it's going to take a long time. It's just going to take a long time. And so I would assume that this would keep them down for like 2 weeks. Could you imagine 2 weeks in California? No rideshare? So assuming a driver is an employee, which there might be an enrollment process, I would hope that there would be a quick one-click to submit form that Uber and Lyft sends out to all of their drivers. Otherwise, they're going to have a huge fall off of just people that won't even become employees because it's too difficult to enroll. I got to say, this is such a low blow for Uber and Lyft. Just side note, they're going to lose their best drivers. So if the companies are running employees, they can't just have employees work whenever they want. They have to manage the time, and then they have to manage the risk and the expenses, etc. And so what they're going to do is have limited availability for different areas in cities. So I live in San Diego, and so in theory, it would be like there's going to be 100 drivers that can work in the downtown area between 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock p.m. on Friday. Or like maybe this is a daily shift zone or something. And then me as a driver, as an employee, I will have to go into their opportunities tab or something similar. And then in probably what would be a first come, first serve lottery type thing, I would try and get shifts. And so I would imagine the best shifts are going to be taken very quickly. And the worst shifts are not going to be ones that the best drivers are going to want to get. And quite honestly, if you think about it, this just breaks the idea of being a driver. If you have to work at a certain time in a certain zone, and you get a ride in that zone, you take them across the city, and you have to head back to that zone, there's going to be a lot of downtime. But don't worry, you get paid for downtime. That's part of the argument is don't worry, drivers, there's a minimum. But also what I see from that is fear drivers, there's a maximum. If we're told when and where to work and that we have to accept every ride and that it's more expensive to operate us, and so customer prices are going to go up, and so maybe tipping will go down and customers will go down because they're going to be upset. This is going to have a flywheel effect into negative momentum for the companies, at least in California. But that is just because California is the first state to do this. The likelihood that this could follow in other states is high if California really goes through with this and doesn't amend it for Uber and Lyft. You might be asking, why is California doing this? Well, it's a dirty 4-letter word that starts with C. Cash. Or for simplicity's sake, we could just call it money. Even more specifically, let's call it union money. The workers in California of certain organizations, certain sizes, certain types of employment, all of the employees in some industries have to be a part of unions. And so the California unions, also pressured by taxi unions, etc., they moved to get this bill in action because all of the unions make money off of people that are in the union's union fees. And so with the million drivers in Uber and Lyft, this looked like a huge loss that they weren't a part of the union network. And so unions pushed to get this thing moving. Gavin Newsom accepted it, etc., and now we are here. And so I guess the goal of that all was to make it so more employees would be a part of unions, so they would have more employees paying union fees. You're like, Caleb, there's no way that's it. That's basically it. And so this was not because of COVID. This was not because drivers were unhappy with the systems. Of course, that helped highlight some of the angles that the unions were pushing. But this did not start because of driver frustration, and this did not happen right now because of the lockdown ailment. This just happened to come to a point during quarantine. And so if you think about that system, instead of just turning on whenever you want, accepting the trips you'd like, working the areas you'd like, chasing surge, you would have to be an employee. You would have a shift that you have to fight for, and you can only work in those times, and you can only get paid what they're going to pay you. Maybe there'll be bonuses, maybe you'll get tips. But if this happens, the days of just crushing it throughout town, turning off and on to go and position yourself in the right part to soak up the best surge trip, saying what you want, wearing what you want, driving how you want, employees have to be sculpted by companies. And so by the nature of how we would be in the employee-employer relationship, drivers would just continue to lose every bit of freedom that I think we all enjoy today. And so if you can't tell, I'm very against this. It is a big bummer, but I voted against it. I sent emails, I gave a call, I did what I could over the last year, and I hope you did too. But now we're in the situation we have to deal with it. So what do you do to replace an income that was so freeing? Well, there's a lot of other gigs to consider. I've been making a bunch of money with Instacart over the last 6 months. I've been making a bunch of money with Amazon over the last few years, picking up random shifts, and then when quarantine happened, I really went hard, and I was doing like 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week between the both of them. And of course, making more than I used to make at my 45-hour-a-week rideshare driving. And that's just because there's these things going on I call the pandemic profits, where if you shop for someone, you're saving their life. They don't have to go out in public. If you're delivering for people, you're bracing the storm. I'm so excited that you did this delivery or something. There are just people that don't want to go out in public. And if you are okay with that, that is leverage that allows people to appreciate you a little bit more when you are doing these tasky things for them. And so right now, there's great opportunity in Amazon Flex. There's great opportunity in Instacart. There's a budding opportunity in an app called ROADIE. I've heard that food delivery is good, but quite honestly, I think that they're also going to be affected by this. Yes, Uber Eats is out of the picture, but I think that like POSTMATES and GRUBHUB and those companies, I think this affects just independent contractors that are working for like a software company. I'll slot any confirmation in while I'm editing, but I'm pretty sure that it's just rideshare that this is really, really pinning down. There's TASKRABBIT, there's SHIPT, there's a big list of companies that I will put down below. But the main ones, I would say, are Instacart and Amazon Flex. These ones I have a lot of experience with and can say that you can make 15 to 40 bucks an hour with both of them all throughout the week. Instacart, it's much better in the morning. It seems until about 2 o'clock, they have like the biggest orders come in because there's kind of a backlog of orders from people setting up their order the day before or two. And then those get sent in during the day. And so the thing with Instacart is you have to sign up right now because the best money from Instacart comes from Costco. And in order to shop at Costco, you need to get the card that Instacart sends you, and it will take about a week. So good thing I put this video out about a week beforehand, link in description. But you can get started in like a day or two and you can be shopping. And there's a bunch of great places to shop, even without the card, because you just set up like Google or Apple Pay to be able to make payments. But for some reason, Costco, you have to use the actual physical card that Instacart sends you. So sign up now, just so you can be Costco qualified by the time this all kicks in. And then with Amazon Flex, that one's great, but they just do a lot of tiny shifts. They do like 2 to 3 hours basically, and they'll pay you like 18 to 25 or 30 bucks an hour or something like that. And there's a couple different shifts for those. I'm going to go into great detail on all of the side gig opportunities that you can do right now and how to profit during a pandemic, etc. So I'll go into a lot more detail on how to best utilize Instacart and Amazon. But as far as right now, Amazon, you're just doing deliveries for. There's parcel delivery, there's Whole Foods delivery, there's Prime Now delivery. On Whole Foods and Prime Now, people tip you. It like doubles the earnings you would make for that block, that little shift you would do. And then on parcel delivery, you can do a 3-hour shift in like an hour and a half or 2. Most times. Sometimes it takes you like 2.5 to 3 hours. But sometimes you get it done in half the time and you get paid for the entirety of whatever you agreed for with the company. And so these ones are both cool because between shopping or delivering, there's some luck in it, but you do get better. I'm probably earning 3 times as much per hour nowadays than when I started Instacart because I'm just so much better at shopping. I understand where things are. I get the layout of most stores. I know whenever there's like a weird thing happening in the app or how to upsell people over messaging. And like I said, I'll share a bunch of this info in this major tips video that I've got coming up. But as far as right now, you could work from 8 a.m. until 2 p.m. with Instacart, and you could pick up 2 Amazon shifts, two or 3 Amazon shifts after that. And with just that, you can make like $200 a day. And I'm not kidding here. Like, I'm trying to downplay it. I mean, maybe you live in a really bad city or a not so good part of the city, and so maybe Instacart isn't tipping big in your area. But what I would suggest is find the best part of the city. Thank goodness I happen to live in the best part of San Diego for Instacart. I've tested all the areas, and the most expensive area to live I thought would be the best because you mostly get paid for tips with Instacart. It's like 60% of my weekly earnings is just from the tips with Instacart. But I found out that although they were tipping really nice, the travel time to drive to and from the stores, it was just so spread out. And so I found out that I was losing time up there, which actually cut into my earnings. And so although every now and then you could make more per batch, you would make less over that time frame. And so you can find the best parts of your town for Instacart. And you just sit in them and work in them and wait for the best things to come up, swipe them, get them, do them, repeat. And with Amazon, that's also a first come, first serve thing. And there are better shifts that pop up, and you better take advantage of them. And sometimes Amazon boosts up the price of some of their opportunities because they are short-staffed or something like that. And they do this all throughout the week, and they do it last minute, and prices fluctuate. And so that one's really entertaining to entertain. But I would say that it's a reliable source of income. Amazon is not going to be stopping anytime soon. Instacart, I don't believe is going to be stopping anytime soon. Hopefully they'll at least give us a week's heads up like Uber and Lyft. But as far as Uber and Lyft is going, if this thing goes through to the point of no return and the systems are shut down, you've got to have your backup plan. Now, for me over the pandemic, I started taking trading a little bit more serious. I took working as much as I could a little more serious. And the way I've seen this the whole time is when the juicing is good, don't stop squeezing. If you've been driving in the last few months, you understand you've been making like twice as much as you were before pandemic. And it's because there's a driver shortage. In most cities, there's a driver shortage. There's just too many old people that are sitting on the sidelines, rightfully so. But that makes it so the demand is way more than the supply of drivers. And that has created it to kind of feel like it's a Friday every day. No joke. When I started driving again after lockdown, it was the week before the first lifting. It was like almost 2.5 months ago. There was no rides happening on Lyft. None. I mean, I guess there were some, but like every single request would be 20, 25 minutes away. And as you know, Lyft doesn't show you what's going on. And so you would deny those and you're like, all right, I'll just do Uber. And then on Uber, it's like everything's 3 to 5 times surging and you get to see the whole route overview before you accept. And so as a driver, Uber was the place to be because you were so sure of what you were getting when you would accept trips. And so there were no drivers on Lyft. And I was picking up people that would express that they had been trying 30 or 40 minutes to get a Lyft, and the company kept dropping their requests, and then they would try and get Uber. And that was the case for like 2 weeks. I was blown away by this. But what I knew during that is this is not going to last. And it didn't. But what I did during those 2, 3, 4 weeks, I was working 80 hours, 90 hours, 100 hours a week. I would wake up in the morning between 8 and 10, and I would do several hours of Instacart. I would maybe have an Amazon shift or 2 lined up somewhere, and then I would drive until 2 or 3 in the morning. And I would do that every single day. And that got me to a point where I was able to save up enough to not worry if things dropped off or fell off or shut down again. I continued to improve my confidence in my financial situation. And it is so backwards to think that in the time of the most trying hardships economically in my lifetime for this country, I was able to double down on the opportunity in front of me. Now, that opportunity was Lyft and Uber and Instacart and Amazon. But as of what's coming, the opportunity is going to shift. It's not going to be Uber and Lyft anymore. And you and I, we have to find other ways to make money. And when you find a good one, don't expect it's just going to be there the same way forever because, it's not a diamond. And so I said all of this to say that you should be prepared. On my honor, you should definitely be prepared. Not just for your job to change, but for your life to change. Not to try and get into too much philosophical jargon, but this is how my mind works, is things don't get easier. You get better. And obviously our situation is not about to get easier. It would not be cool to be an employee of Uber or Lyft. That would just not be cool. There's going to be so many drivers that fall off. It's going to suck for customers on the other side. Rides are going to be more expensive. Wait times are going to be longer because there's not going to be as many drivers out. They're not going to be just sitting around the block like everyone does these days or did in the past. There's going to be a certain amount of drivers in a certain area for certain amounts of time. And those drivers will have to accept every request that comes their way because they are employees and they have to do as the company requires. And so it's just going to change the dynamics. They're going to lose the best drivers. They're going to upset their best customers. And unfortunately, this might be this big domino effect for other states to follow. It's sickening what happens politically to good opportunities or good situations or good organizations when there is powerful money that wants it to not be. And that's what we're dealing with right now. AB5 was a low blow to the rideshare industry, and these guys wanted to take us out or suck us in. And we are very close to that brim right now. And like I said, it's out of our hands. Don't feel helpless because the power is on you to do something about this. If you're not signed up with other opportunities right now, do that. Just do all your applications, get into the systems, set up your bank accounts, do all of the stuff to be able to get to the point where you can sign on. So you have all these other means of earning. When I'm working Uber and Lyft today, I'm not just working Uber and Lyft. I'm always evaluating the opportunities that go on. I log on to Instacart during the day sporadically to see if there's any just luck of the draw batch that pops up and I can swipe really quick and go complete. And then I'm also watching Amazon. Sometimes when I'm close to one of their depots, I will double check to make sure that they don't have a boosted up thing where I could, oh my gosh, I could make $80 over the next 2 hours by working this Prime Now shift versus the 25 or 35 bucks that I would make doing Uber and Lyft or whatever it is during that time frame. So I am constantly balancing and weighing all of the opportunities around me. I use those 4 companies and I just try and get the best bang for my hour. And so in the morning, it's Instacart. There's a 10 o'clock Costco rush. That's when Costco opens up. And then there's a 12 o'clock Costco rush. I don't know why it's like at 10 and 12 or like 10 minutes around there. There's like 2 big waves of just massive orders that come through. And then you can see like the last ones around 2. And it takes you about an hour or so to complete. And so you can do 2, 3, sometimes 4 Instacarts in your morning and then log on, start doing Uber and Lyft and, keep your eye out for good shifts with Amazon. And if you do that, you can absolutely be consistent with $20 to $40 an hour in earnings. Now, remember, these are earnings. You got to pay for gas. I get it. Got to pay for your taxes. I get it. But these are opportunities to do either on the side of your job or on the side of your life or as your job for your life. Not like for the duration, but for your situation. I've got these great videos coming up, 100 plus tips of how to maximize the gig economy. And like I said, 15,000 trips, thousands and thousands of deliveries with Amazon, hundreds of deliveries with Instacart. I am comfortable enough to say that I am comfortable enough to do this. And so at least make sure you tune in for that. It's gonna, hopefully I get it done soon. It'll be the next video I work on. And besides that, use my links. Support me by signing up for these things. Support me by supporting you by signing up for these things in my bio. Gotta sign up sometime anyways, so might as well use my link. So with that, hopefully this was informative enough for you to know a little bit more about what's going on with Uber and Lyft, why this is happening, and what you can do about it. And like I said, just keep your head on opportunistic shoulders. Like, The world is your oyster. And you're like, it doesn't seem like an oyster. Okay, well, that conclusion sounds fishy. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that I missed that is specifically important to all the things I talked about, or AB5, etc. And also give a comment of any other companies you're taking advantage of these days so we can just share the resources and the available options out there. I think for anyone that wants to take their life into their own hands as far as their employment goes, or non-employment, it's important to at least know your options. And if my friend 6 years ago didn't tell me about Lyft and his ability to make the money he was making then, I wouldn't have considered it. I wouldn't have known. Now, granted, the likelihood that you already know about most of these is high, but I did want to share from the driver's point of view how ludicrous this all is and what would it look like if this really happened. Like, how would drivers get shifts? How would this affect customers? And would it even be worth it to do this afterwards? Like, that's an important question. And quite honestly, we don't know all of those details, but it seems like you got to be an employee, you got to get shifts, you got to work those shifts. And then that would be it. And for customers, they would probably have to plan ahead rides a little bit more or have just a bigger wait time, possibly even more uncertainty. And then they're going to be paying like twice as much. And it's not like drivers will get paid twice as much. It's a more expensive system, so there'll be a bigger fee from Uber for drivers to make this a thing. Or maybe drivers won't even get paid from customers. They'll just get paid for shifts and hours and like a ride counter or something. All those details are in the dark, but for the ones that are in the light, hopefully this light has shined on you well at a good time. Best of luck with whatever you're doing. Keep me updated. It'd be cool to hear if anyone actually watched the video this far. So with that, thank you very much for watching.